Hey, my name's Darren, and I'm a pastor in Southeast Kansas. Technically, I'm an associate pastor, which just means I'm not the lead guy. And so I'm in a small church where there's two of us on staff full-time, and we have a church secretary. So there's a lead pastor, there's me, our church secretary, and our youth and worship leaders are both part-time. Bigger churches have more full-time staff, and smaller churches have less full-time staff. Very simple, just like any other place of business, I guess you could say. So I'm going to answer a few questions for you today. And so the first question is, what steps did you take to get where you are now? And first, I want to say, there's no one path to being a pastor. There is no definitive path. And by that, I mean, you can ask 100 pastors how they got to their position. You'll probably hear the same story 2 or 3 times. And certainly is true for me. I don't have the same path as most people. I actually got my Bachelor of Arts in Criminal Justice, and then I worked for several years in the criminal justice field, first in law enforcement and then in a courthouse. But at the end of the day, I just didn't feel like I was getting anything done. I felt like my job didn't have a real purpose in someone's life. I wanted to make change. And so though I had been serving as a volunteer in church, and then they hired me as part-time college minister, I knew I needed to do that more. And I couldn't do that more while working full-time in the world, as I say. And so I ended up quitting my job, going to seminary, and earning my Master's of Arts in Christian Apologetics. That's about a 36-hour master's degree. And that, coupled with my ministry experience, qualified me for my current position as associate pastor. And so I'm going to answer a few other questions for you. And the first question is that nobody ever knows. Like, you ask anybody, nobody knows what a pastor does. They're like, oh, he preaches. But what else? Does he just pray all day? Does he read the Bible all day? No. We do read the Bible and we do pray, but that accounts for maybe a little bit more than the average Christian. And so a typical day for me, and I'll start with Sunday. So we work Sundays through Thursday. So we have Friday and Saturday off. That's our weekend. And so Sundays, I get here about 8 a.m. and I leave around 1 p.m. So we just have morning services. We don't have an evening service. And my main job is to ensure that volunteers are here. They're in the right place. That they're greeting people, that I'm greeting new people. If we have a new family, that I get to know their name and let them ask any questions they have about the church. And then I answer questions about X, Y, and Z. So whatever comes up, I try to fill in and make sure it's taken care of. We have tech issues, like right now we're live streaming because of COVID and all this stuff. I make sure that they're solved. I try to make sure the camera's up and running, that our sound levels are good, and whatever it needs to be done to help my pastor. So my pastor, our lead pastor, his job is to preach. And on Sunday mornings, we believe that the devil is attacking him and that he's trying to distract him and discourage him. And so when he gets up to preach, we want him to be able to focus on the message that he's prepared. And so whatever I can do to help him, that's what I do. So that's Sundays. So Monday through Thursday, it varies greatly. Some weeks are slower than molasses, and I don't get to do anything. It's just sitting around trying to figure out what to do. Those weeks are very rare. Most weeks are pretty fast-paced. There's always something going on. Maybe there's an event coming up. Maybe there's a new study coming out. Maybe I'm working on new curriculum for the teachers. Maybe I'm training new teachers. Maybe we have a trip coming up, a mission trip, an outreach opportunity, what have you. It could be anything. So on Mondays, typically we do evaluations and elevations. What that means is we look back over the past week. We look over Sunday and we say what worked, what didn't work, what needs to change, what needs to be eliminated, what do we need to add, and let's do it. So then the rest of the week, I'm basically carrying that out. On Thursdays, that's almost every Thursday is the same. Every Thursday, I make sure all my volunteers are scheduled. I make sure the church is set up for Sunday. I make sure everything's clean, all that good stuff. And I make sure masks are put out, hand sanitizer. I make sure the chairs are straight in the sanctuary, that kind of stuff. It's just kind of getting ready for Sunday. So Tuesdays and Wednesdays are kind of my flexible days. Usually Tuesdays I have meetings with church members, with community people, just trying to get our church involved in the community. And I have meetings with my pastor or my boss, however you want to look at it, and just kind of tie up loose ends, that kind of stuff. And it is very so greatly. Some days I'm working on new material for classes to study. Other days I may be thinking of, just sitting there thinking of what we can do different or what can be better, and doing research on what other churches are doing and what research tells us about X, Y, Z, and just trying to be our best, not for pride, but for spreading the gospel. How can we spread the gospel most efficiently? How can we help others understand who God is, what the Bible is, how to read it, that kind of stuff. And so there is no typical workday for a pastor. So that's kind of the long way to say that. So now you're wondering what kind of skills are needed for this job. Well, obviously you have to be able to communicate well. I do a halfway good job at that, I guess. But the Bible actually tells us what is needed to be a pastor. And it's in 1 Timothy chapter 3. And I'm not going to read it because it'll take too long. But in short, this is what is required of a pastor. Extremely ethical, not divorced, level-headed, patient, respectable, hospitable, able to teach the Bible, not a drunk, gentle, easy to get along with, and not love money. He must be a good husband and father if he has kids or if he's married. He must be mature in the faith and be well-liked in the community. So obviously not everybody qualifies for that. And I don't perfectly qualify for that. Nobody perfectly qualifies, but we have to be very closely aligned to that. And it's not easy, but we strive and we do our best. Other things, you have to be a team player. I mean, my job is overseeing 30, 40 volunteers every Sunday. I can't be authoritative or authoritarian, rather. I can't be a dictator. I can't say, hey, do it my way or get out. I can't do that. I have to say, hey, what works for you? Let me help you serve the way you want to serve. And it also helps the church. I have to say, hey, what are you struggling with in life? Let me help you with that. I have to be a real team player. My boss, my pastor, I have to work with him. I have to say, okay, what do you want to do and how can I help you? How can we work together? How can we achieve the common goal? Problem solving, yeah. I mean, we have problems every day. Maybe right before the service, camera goes down. I got to figure out, why is the camera not working? Why can we not live stream or whatever else? And I think I kind of mentioned this, but what I love most about my job is that I get to be a part of someone's greatest decision in life, okay? So, yeah, I'm there for people's births, weddings, graduations, promotion, and other fun parts of life. But most importantly, I sometimes get to be a part of somebody's eternal life change when they become a Christian, when they decide, you know what? I'm no longer following my will or what I want to do. I'm going to follow what God wants me to do. And it's not easier being a Christian, okay? But it's better. What I mean by that is we still face sin and struggle, and we still have, struggles at work. We still have struggles with family. We still have issues with our vehicles and friends. But at the end of the day, we have hope and peace unlike anybody else. And so being part of that is the best part of my job. Some of the challenges I face are dealing with sin and evil, just straight up. It sounds kind of weird if you're not a Christian. Like, what does that mean? But it means I deal with mess of life. So I still have to deal with people struggling with divorce or marriage issues. I'm struggling with people, or I have to work with people struggling with work issues. Maybe their boss is really mean, or maybe they just lost their job. And so dealing with people's worst parts of life is the hardest part of my job. Doesn't mean it's not worth it. It certainly is, but it's hard to help people get through those things. A couple other things. Oh, so yeah, here you go. Money. What do pastors make? Well, again, it varies greatly. So I make about $40,000. My pastor makes about $70,000. And to give some relation to that, most churches pay their pastors enough to not be poor, but too little to not be rich. And that's where pastors need to make. Very few pastors make over $100,000 a year. If they do, they probably live in a high cost of living area, Dallas, Atlanta. If you get up in DC or New York City, they may make a couple $100,000. I don't know. I live in Kansas, so I couldn't tell you. I could go to a bigger church in, let's say, like Little Rock, perhaps. and I could probably double my salary doing the same job I do here. It's just because that church would be bigger, and I have more responsibility, but I would do the same job. And so we just pay more for that. And lastly, I'll answer this. What is my work environment like? My work environment is great. Not every pastor gets this, but I love it. My boss, my pastor, is very flexible. If I need to take time off, he lets me. Right now, my wife is pregnant. We're about 20 weeks pregnant, and he lets me take off whenever I need to go to appointments with her. He doesn't count hours. He doesn't care. He says, no, you take care of your wife, you take care of your family, because that's what's most important. And I don't abuse it. You know, I'm still here. I get my job done. I work from home in the evening sometimes or in the weekend. But overall, very flexible schedule, decent benefits, not the best. Some churches have horrible benefits, some have great, it all depends. But overall, I get to work with great people. I get to have fun, but I can't lie to you, some things are hard. Like I told you, I have to deal with some people's worst days, but at the end of the day, I get to be part of someone's best day in their life, and that for me is totally worth it. I'm out of time, so if you have any questions, call a local pastor. If you just Google Baptist church near me and talk to a pastor and just say, hey, I had a career day recently, and I'm more interested in what it's like being a pastor. I just want to know what you do. And I guarantee you they'll respond and they'll let you learn from them. I hope this was helpful. I hope you learned a little bit more about what it is to be a pastor. And again, I'm out of time, so I got to go. I hope you guys have a great day. Hope you learn lots about different careers. Look at all kinds of careers. Don't just look into what you are familiar with. Look into things that you're not familiar with. And that way you get a better understanding before you go to college or before you go into your line of work. Thanks.